previously on the Elevate With Us podcast. Really excited to welcome Billy to the podcast.
Yeah, so it's actually my second book that I wrote. So the first book that I wrote was about insurance, and I didn't think anyone was going to read it but my mom. It actually did really well, and a lot of people that are going into the business read that. As a leader, we've got to be out in front leading, and we've got to be out in front trying to, like, what are we chasing next? What's the dream that we're going to go out and get?
So how many people are with you at Brightway?
So in my agency, we have 16 folks, but we have a little bit different of a model where we have an entire home office team that's on University Boulevard, right around the corner from here. That is, they do a lot of our back end, they do some marketing, they do some service. So if I pay them a fee to do that. If I was keeping that all in-house, I would have an additional 25 employees.
I see.
But because I outsource some of the service and some of the phone calls and the mail and the marketing and the commissions and the accounting, all that, they handle that. So we focus on taking great care of clients. We focus on the home buying process. We work with a lot with great realtors like yourself. And so we try to be great on the front end, make sure people don't wait for things, and try to deliver world-class service. And we outsource a lot of the stuff that bogs most other agencies down. And that's why it's hard to get things from people, because they're fighting those other battles that we're trying to build a different model that doesn't get that stuff in the way.
And are all Brightways like that, or just you guys? Or that's your franchise model?
That's the franchise model.
Amazing.
Yeah.
No, so what you just said is really important, because I think realtors get bogged down in stuff that doesn't necessarily need to be done by a realtor.
Yeah.
You know, there's a controversial thing called transaction coordinators.
Yes.
Right? There's like, you either love them or you hate them.
Right.
I have been through many. I've been selling real estate for a really long time. I have a really high standard, and I have an idea of what I want and don't want my TC to do. I have now partnered with the most amazing one ever. She does exactly what I would like, and she's like alongside you.
Yeah.
She's not in front of you. She's not behind you. She'll do as much or as little as you want, but she never like speaks on your behalf, which I find is a big problem with agents who don't like TCs, because they have seen other agents' business just kind of get picked up and swooped up by that TC. But I think leveraging time and money is really important, and that's what you've done, because you know that if those people are in your office, they'd still provide a great service, but it would take seats up, and it would take up probably a significantly more money and time from you if they were like in-house seats.
Yeah. I think, again, don't believe everything you think, right? Like that quote of like, you know, and what happens is a lot of times people will say, well, that hiring that person or having a transaction coordinator doesn't work. Well, number one, you probably didn't find the right person, because the right person... That's exactly right.
Will change your life.
Will change your life.
Yep.
And also, did you set clear expectations of what you wanted, right? Like, what does winning look like? Everyone on my team has a list of what winning looks like for their role. And so clear is kind. Brene Brown said it best. It's clear is kind. People don't want to do a bad job. We do a terrible job of telling them what we want. So, you know, that's, I think, one of our secret sauces is one of my skill sets is to design outcomes. Like, what do I want to happen? Building processes that make sure that happens. And, you know, and we overcomplicate that. Like, a process of what you want that transaction coordinator to do should be like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And then this should never happen. Like, that should be at the bottom of every process you have.
Absolutely.
Like, this should never happen in a transaction, right? And so very clear expectations of what you want. And, you know, you can design roles around your business or wherever the pain points are, wherever they're, you know, one of the things that was really, really interesting for me is like, nobody gets into my business on purpose. It's like by accident, they knew a family member, somebody tricked them into getting into it, whatever. But eventually it can be a great career. But what we don't do is like light a path for them and show them like what that pathway is. And so what I've been able to do is bring people in and show them the path and say, here's what you can do. You're going to start in this role, then you're going to learn that, master it, then you're going to do the next role. And people want to have progressing, they want to have growth, and they want to feel like they're winning. And so we just created that environment, which is really helpful. And I wish I would have done that, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It took me a while to figure that out.
So it's funny what you said is no one, like when they're a kid, they're like, when I grow up, I want to be an insurance agent.
Right.
I don't think anyone says that. I want to be a realtor. I don't think that ever. I've never thought about that.
Right.
Doctors, lawyers, veterinarians, zookeeper. No one says like, what do I have to do to get there?
Yeah.
So what does someone have to do to become an insurance agent? I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a 220-hour course, and so they have to
That's
get
a lot of
licensed.
hours.
It's a lot of hours.
Wow.
It's a very tough test. The success rate is like 60% of passing it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's a pretty tough test. Now, that is to be an agent, to be in charge of other agents. So it's kind of like a broker. Like that's a different license. But you can become like a sales agent or something, which is, they can either do that same course or they have another one that's like 60 hours.
Okay.
So there's a couple different variations of tests that you can get into it. But it's not something you can do part-time. It's definitely got to be a full-time deal because there's a lot of complexity to it. There's a lot of things to learn. And, what we found was we spend 12 weeks training somebody. And I think most people in the industry, they'll have them sit with Sally for 2 weeks and shadow them. And it's just not enough.
Figure it out.
Not enough.
Figure it out, Joe. Figure it out.
Exactly.
Here's a computer. Sit here, call people, okay?
Exactly. So we do that 12 weeks of training, but then we put them in this new role, and we start everybody out what we call a client concierge, where they're kind of like a receptionist. They help with the phone. They help onboard new clients. But what we're doing is we're teaching them how to do the role that's next. We're teaching them how to be a junior producer, and we've made an agent in our office kind of like a law partner. And it's very difficult to get through to be an agent. We secret shop our own office. They have to pass secret shops. They have to have the ability to protect other people. They have to get Google reviews. They have to build relationships with people like yourself. They have to build 5 relationships to be even a junior producer in our office. So we've built these validation points to make sure that they don't have any holes in what they know how to do.
Sure.
They become like ninjas at it. And when they get to that level, they're highly rewarded, and it's a career they'll never do anything else by the time they get to that level. But sometimes it takes them 2 years to get there.
I was just going to say, like, how long on average would you say it takes someone about 2 years to get there?
2 years to get there, yeah.
Wow. So talking about the secret shopping situation, this sounds very fascinating. I mean, it must be like devastating and amazing.
Yeah.
All at the same, there's probably nothing in between. You're either like, that was awesome, or yikes.
Yeah, it's one of the best things we ever did, to be honest.
And they know that this is going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
They don't know what they're going to call, but they know that that's a part of your procedure that y'all get secret shopped.
Yes, and it's something that, so I told you we did the 12 weeks of training.
Yes.
We do 16 hours of training to take an initial phone call with a new client. That's that 5-minute phone call. We trained for 16 hours on that. But what I found was,
wow,
and so you're not going to get better training than that, right? So it's not a training issue, but people will follow the path of least resistance. And
Absolutely.
As much as I love them, they will not do everything exactly the way that I wanted to do it until we were validating that they were doing it. So were you building rapport? Did you smile? Did you have energy? Did you talk about different lines of business and try to protect people? Were you building rapport? Were you asking the discount questions? Like all those things. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to secret shop. Well, I went to go find a secret shopper. I couldn't find one. I mean, it literally took months to find one. And I finally found one, and I was like, all right, this is what I want to do. We developed 24 questions, and we have them secret shop 2 to 3 times a month. The great thing about it is it's a circle of trust, but it's also like they don't want to be embarrassed, right? So but the best thing about it is they think every call that comes in is a secret shop.
Absolutely.
So now they're actually doing all the right things that they're supposed to be doing. There's consistency in it. What I don't want is, and just like, like in the real estate industry, it's like it shouldn't be that drastically different whether they talk to this person or that person, right? When you're trying to build a high level standard, you want it to be a consistent, measurable thing.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
for sure.
And, you're not going to be a business that is remarked about unless you are remarkable in some way, right?
For sure.
So
yeah.
We tried to figure out, and then we actually figured out what are the 6 things that are most important to us. And we measure those 6 things and grade those. They get a copy of the video recording. They get all of that, but it goes in our team's channel, so everyone knows was it good or bad.
Everyone knows.
Everyone knows.
So there's a lot of transparency.
A lot of transparency.
It's just right there. It's like, hey, this was your call. How'd you do?
Yeah. And it just raised the standard so high.
Wow.
And, and honestly, it's like, it's been a fun journey to see. And now, like, I don't think there's much anxiety because people are on it now. Like,
well, it's happening to everybody. You're not just secret shopping someone. Everyone's, I'm assuming, everybody gets on that call report or whatever at some point.
Absolutely.
So you're like, oh, that was me. And then I wonder, do the agents remember that call?
Yeah, they do, because we make them give a name, and so they can look it up, and they're like,
oh my gosh, right?
And they're trying to argue, like, oh, I did this or that, but it's,
you're like, no, you didn't. Yeah, you did.
The scoreboard doesn't lie, right? It tells you exactly who did what and when they did it. And, like I said, it's changed the game for us, and I believe in the experience is everything, right? If you create a great experience, it'll be all the advertising you ever need to do. And, but in order to be world class, you've got to have like the clearest kind. This is what I want. Train them on it, and then validate it, hold them accountable. And we actually pay them the commission they would have earned on it too. So if they get a commission on it, if they do well,
if it should have led to a sale and it didn't, and they did all the things, you still pay them.
We still pay them, because I don't want them to feel like that was wasting their time.
Sure.
Because it's super valuable to me.
That's incredible.
That I know that that's happening each time. Yeah.
So when you guys post do you post positions, or do you end up? So when that happens, do you get a ton of applicants? Because I know you guys have a great reputation, right? I moved from I was with that person for a very long time. I actually sold them their house, and we were not getting a good customer experience. When you get, I like to give people grace. Like, everybody has bad days, everybody has bad times in their life, but when you have like 3 people be like, and I don't know what happened, but that all the balls fell and it was bad. You realize you got to find somebody else. And so that's how I found you guys. And it's been amazing. It's very consistent, which is what you're doing. It's the same every time. Everyone's happy. So probably people know that it's a great place to work. So you must have a very intense process for hiring people. Yeah. Because it sounds like the team is very important, and you guys have a lot of cohesiveness. So it must be very hard to like bring an outsider in.
Yeah, it is very, very tough, but that's why we have 21 steps, right? So
21 steps.
We used to have 6 steps, but we every time we made a mistake, we added another step in our hiring process. But the way we go out and recruit is very unique and different in our industry. So we have a land, air, and sea approach, and so we are basically we are basically like going a number of ways. So one is, like, the entire team is helping us to find other people. We also have a letter and an email that we send out to 50 of the most networked, influential people that we know in the community. And we say, hey, this is a position that we're looking for. We'd love for you to send over people that you think are interested. We also work with the colleges. There's a program called Handshake that you can get like profiles of all the college students. It's almost like an online portal, and you can set up your own portal.
Yeah.
And then you can go search for people inside that portal as well. We have a lot of success with teachers and also in people in the hospitality business. So
makes sense.
We have a lot of folks that, like, I know the GMs at the large restaurants, and I say, tell me your very best person that wants a career, and let me, and that's great for them to show that they're helping them, succeed. I have a business card that I keep with me that says, I was so impressed with you. If you're ever looking to change careers, I'd love to talk to you. And it drives all the things that we're doing, whether it be social media, Indeed. One of the things, like Indeed, almost we never hire anybody on Indeed.
Interesting.
But it's a filter.
Yeah.
And generally, when we open a position, we get 300 applicants.
300
applicants.
And like little Ponte Vedra Beach.
Little Ponte Vedra Beach. And it's all those different ways that we're trying to get them through the filter, but we then drive them to a website, and we've automated about 8 of those 21 steps. And, and I get involved usually, about step 15. And I try to talk them out of the position. That's my role, because I think an interview is really just 2 people lying to each other. They're telling you how great they are, and you're saying how great it is to work, in the place. And so, but it's about having a very defined process, and everyone should have one. If you're hiring people, you should have a process, and maybe it's only 6 or 7 steps. So we do personality tests, we do cognitive, we do a panel interview with the entire team, and we don't hire anyone unless it's 100% commitment from everybody.
Wow, yeah. That must make it very hard.
Very hard.
Does everyone vote anonymously on the person, or do y'all just it's like a yay or nay?
So we bring them into the panel interview, and it's very intimidating for them. So it's 16 people. There's like 5 people virtual. There's, 11, 12 people at the conference table, and we've done it this way forever. And it's harder to scale with that many people, but we allow each person on the team ask one question.
Okay.
And we're trying to figure out, are they a culture fit? Because here's
most
the thing,
important thing.
Most important thing. And here's what I learned is, our success is that people we like each other so much that we want to be friends outside of work. And you look forward to going to work when your friends are there. Mm-hmm. And so you got to have everyone on board with the culture to make sure it fits. And so then they get to ask any question they want to. What is your pain point? What is your frustration? I want to tell them exactly what it is. I want to play the movie out for them. So that's the process. And then we only like 2 or 3 people get to that panel interview. And so we're making the decision. We go from 300 down to 2 or 3.
Wow.
And then we make the decision on the top. The top 2, and the team knows that we went through 20 steps already, right? They know we vetted them, and they're just trying to, again, validate that it's, it's a fit for everyone. And we've had people where I thought we were going to hire, and they said no, and I was like, I trust you.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's that's incredible. That must be really empowering for the people you have to know that there's going to be synergy there, because I would imagine it's always really hard when you bring somebody new, and I know we have the same thing, and I've learned to be very careful about who I partner with. I've realized that it's my own business. I don't have to invite everybody in. Like I said, you're not going to get any more time. I don't have to give my time to everybody. And if I've learned very quickly a red flag. My number one red flag with agents is when I ask them why they got in the business and they tell me it's because they like houses.
Oh, no. Yeah.
I'm like, really, you like houses? And I just think they're so pretty, and I love model homes. And I'm like, okay, we're not gonna.
Right.
We're in totally different stratospheres of how real estate really works.
Right.
And of course we like houses.
Right.
Right. I mean, of course we do. But
that's a given.
If the reason you're here is to look at pretty houses, you maybe should become a greeter at a model home, so you can shift to different models and look at the different houses. Like we're not in this for houses. We're in this for relationships, which is something that you've done, is build a relationship-based business, which is what I've done. It's very, very important. It's not about the transaction. You cannot be transactional. Yeah. There's too many of us out there. Yeah. It's got to be a great white glove, 5-star experience, repeatable every single time.
Yes. One of my favorite sayings is the difference between a contact and a contract is the letter R. And that letter R is for relationships,
I'm
right?
going to steal that. Yeah. That was fabulous.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's it. I mean, like everything about life is relationship based. I mean, if you and I found like what really, when I think about my life and I go, okay, I learned this from one of the best podcasts I ever listened to was Tim Ferriss interviewed Jim Collins, right?
Okay.
And it's probably I think I took 2 pages of notes from this podcast.
Oh, wow.
And it was incredible. But like, when you think about like each day and each day of your life, we don't remember what we had for lunch on Tuesday, right? Mm-hmm. But if you start journaling at the end of each day, what gave you joy and what were you happy about in that day? And then at the same time, what did you languish or what did you not like?
Sure.
And started designing a life that kind of had those elements of things that you loved and took things out that you hated, and I've been on that journey, like, and scoring your day, like, okay, like Jim Collins says, my top score is a 2 and my bottom score is like a -2. I don't know what his scoring system is, but it's very strange.
Negative.
Very strange.
He goes from 2 to -2?
2 to -2. It's super weird.
Wow.
But it's interesting to look at that and then go, okay, what I started figuring out is things that I hate. Like I absolutely hate unproductive meetings. I absolutely hate issues with technology, and like it sends me, like I don't get upset. I'm very even keeled about everything, but for some reason, like a password not working or technology not working drives me absolutely insane. And so I had to develop somebody on my team. Like we have an IT company, but I needed somebody on my team because who was the IT person? It was me.
And I feel that pain. Password changes. I have one right now. MLSs require us, and they don't do them on the same pattern. Some are every 3 months, some are every 6 months. Managing passwords.
Yeah. Very frustrating.
Very frustrating because you can't, and they all have different rules.
Right.
So you can't even, you're not supposed to have the same password everything, but you can't.
Right.
Because some you don't allow exclamation points and you only, it's infuriating.
It's absolutely crazy.
And it wastes time. It wastes energy. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, what are the things that you languish? Well, you should be outsourcing that because somebody might really enjoy doing that. And let's find somebody that actually likes.
I'm sure there is.
Likes the technology and they're good at it. And we found somebody on our team and we just said, hey, you're the go-to person. And me not being in the office, like I stepped out of the office so I could allow my leaders to lead. And like I used to be the person that fixed the printer. That's the last thing that I want to do. But I was the only one that figured out how to do it. And then they all come to me when the printer's broken. Well, I don't want to do that. So it's like think about your life and what are you doing on a daily basis and what are the things that you love? And going back to like the relationship conversation, I love building relationships. I love adding value into the people that I communicate with. I love, like my main pursuit is meaningful time with the people that I love. And so that's my zone of genius. I want to be in that space. And so I'm constantly trying to be more in that space and out of unproductive meetings and technology issues and those kind of things. So figuring those things out are really crucial.
No, for sure. And if I remember correctly, like you build your calendar and the first thing you do, which agents listen to this, the first thing you do is you put in your personal time.
Yeah.
Your family time goes in first. And I think because it's a commission-based business, we do it the opposite because we're worried about the money, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously it is how most of us make a living. We're not volunteers.
Right.
And we get paid at the end, right? So you're a volunteer until closing.
Right.
And so they're like, okay, I'm going to put in this showing or this walkthrough and this, and all of a sudden you look at your calendar and you're like, and I can go to bed at midnight every night and I have no time for anything else. You've reverse engineered it in a way that I am sure makes you more productive.
Yeah. And it's first thing I think is designing, you talk about like designing your ideal day, but designing your ideal week, right? Like what are the things that you want to make sure that happens every week? And, the other thing that's really been helpful for me is color coding it, right? So I can look at my calendar. So my family goes on there first. And so it's date night with my wife on Thursday. It's like all my kids' games, like all that stuff. It goes on there first. It's in red, which means stop, full stop.
And it's like really bright. I love that you picked the color red.
Yeah,
you can't miss it.
Full stop is the first thing that I do is make sure that my family is on there first. Second thing that I do is my team. Like the time that I'm helping my team grow, whether it be a one-on-one or our leadership meeting or whatever, those are on the calendar as well. Because if you're not consistently doing that, remember about being proactive about building your business.
Sure.
That's really important. And then one of my biggest flaws for very many years, and I had a really good friend to me say, you're the most put together person ever, but your health. And I really didn't focus. I was not focusing enough on my health.
There's only enough time to do.
There's only so much time. Yeah. So I put my health on my calendar ahead of time. I ordered my food to be delivered by Superfit Foods, who I absolutely love. They deliver my food to my house on Mondays, so all my lunches are covered. I'm exercising with a trainer because it's the only way that works for me.
Because he
comes to my house.
He keeps you accountable.
He keeps me accountable. Before that, I used to just sponsor the gym, and now That's
amazing.
Now he actually comes to my house and he holds me accountable. I've been doing it for 6 years now, and it's the only way that works for me. And so, like, my health is my priority. It's on my calendar. I do all my doctor visits, everything that the dermatologist, everything I'm supposed to do, I do now for my health because it's the number one wealth, right, is your health. And we put it last, especially real estate agents. They put it last,
Because you like to work business when it comes.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, well, it's time for me to get my mammogram. But, oh, shoot, I have an out-of-state buyer. I'm just going to push it aside. And that's dangerous, right?
Yeah.
We shouldn't do that. But, I mean, I'm guilty of it as well. I mean, we all do. But you've got to make it a priority. I think that, hopefully people listening are going to understand that all of us have the same amount of time in a day.
Yeah.
Every single one of us are working the same amount of time. People seem to be more effective with it than others.
Yeah.
And you're the master of it. Like I learned so much from you. This is not the first time I've been with you to hear you talk. And I just think it's really powerful that you've been able to design a life that feeds you in a way that brings you joy. And then you're able to continue that on. Yeah.
And I think it's a constant journey, right? And the other thing too is like, you have your family that goes on there first, right? But I also do stuff with friends too. Like I try once a month, if not twice. So I do something called Pizza Fridays where we bought a pizza oven in the backyard and we invite people over to make pizza. And it's just a reason to get together. Or it might be somebody I put a lunch on and that goes on, it's just green for whatever reason on my calendar. So, and then I do some stuff with nonprofits that I'm absolutely love doing. It fills my cup up. And so those are purple on my calendar. So now when I look at my calendar, I go, am I balanced, right? There is no such thing as a balanced life. People are,
Nope.
They're trying to chase that. It doesn't, But like you should put some roadblocks, some guardrails. You should have kind of a plan. Sometimes it will get wrecked, but at least I have a plan that I look at it and I go, this is very close to my ideal week. You know, we have the family meetings with our family that we do on Sundays, that we plan out the week, which is one of the best things that we do. And so it's just organizing your week and making sure that you have as much balance as you possibly can. And, you know, and you got to do the revenue generating stuff too. I mean, that's super important.
Sure. Absolutely. It has to be in there. I mean, you can't not do that. You know, something you said earlier, which is very important. I was talking to an agent about this before, is working in and on your business are two separate entities, and you either like one more than the other. Like you're either better at one than the other. And, you know, having time to reflect, I think, is something that's missed. And you talked about that in the beginning, or journaling at the end of your day. And I think if anyone's looking to kind of change the trajectory of their weeks and how things are going, they need to add some type of self-reflection of however that looks like, whether it's starting your day with meditation, silence, walking, running, punching, whatever it is, it's going to get you there. But give yourself the opportunity to say, like, what happened and what could I have done better and what do I need to do to continue to grow? Yeah, I love that. I think that's really important. Yeah. Hey, thank you so much for coming on today, Billy. We so appreciate it. I think I'm going to have you on again. You have so many, just such a great life experience. And as an entrepreneur that's been doing it significantly longer than me and probably a lot of viewers out there, you could really offer us a lot of insight. So thanks so much. Well, it's my pleasure. I really enjoyed the time with you. Yeah.